The Bible is a history book, but it is unlike any other history book available in any public library. The history of the Bible starts with the creation of the earth and ends with the end of the world. No other history book has ever been published that covers such a broad range of events on planet Earth, partially because no one was present at the start to witness and document it. Therefore, no one can write the beginning of our world authoritatively. We are the only people in the world who know how it will all end. That is unique. The Lord did not reveal the future to his followers to satisfy their curiosity. It was to prepare them for the future, so that they would not be surprised when it arrived, and that they would not misinterpret it. Be grateful that Jesus was so forthright in sharing what the future holds for us. People ask, are we in the end times? However, the Bible speaks of the last days, and we have been in the last days for 2,000 years. The last days started at Pentecost, where the first prophecy of the last days was fulfilled. Every Christian generation should live in readiness for the Lord's return. The Bible is a book full of predictions. Its pages contain 735 predictions about the future. A prediction can be found in 1/4 of the Bible's chapters. From beginning to end, it is essentially a prophetic text, though some books focus more on predictions than others. Of the 735 predictions, 596 have indeed occurred and have literally come true according to Scripture. That means 81% of all Bible prophecies have already been fulfilled. Some of those prophecies were made centuries before they came to pass. It does not take much confidence to believe that the remaining 19% will happen as well. That is an exceptionally high accuracy rate. The Bible has proven to be 100% right for every prediction that could have been fulfilled by now. The remaining prophecies are primarily concerned with the actual return of Jesus and what follows after that. How many of these predictions remain to come true before Jesus returns? The answer is about 20. We are watching for those to happen first before we look for the Lord's return. Jesus told us to watch and pray. But what do we watch? We cannot stand still and watch the clouds, waiting for him to appear. That is not what he meant. He meant to keep an eye on what is happening in the world and see the signs he gave us to help us prepare. Signals are the signs. Let's look at Matthew 24, where the disciples asked him, "What will be the signs or signals of your return? What would we do if we did not know when it was going to happen?" To their inquiry, Jesus gave a direct and we can thank God that he responded in such a straightforward manner. In the book of Revelation, he gives a much more detailed and comprehensive response, but here, he provides a rundown of the signs that will precede his arrival. The disciples approached Jesus secretly as he was seated on the Mount of Olives. Matthew 24:03 states, "Later Jesus sat on the Mount of Olives. His disciples came to him privately and said, 'Tell us, when will all this happen? What sign will signal your return and the end of the world?' Jesus told them, 'Don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name claiming I am the Messiah. They will deceive many, and you will hear of wars and threats of wars, but don't panic. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. Nation will go to war against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world. But all this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come. Then you will be arrested, persecuted, and killed. You will be hated all over the world because you are my followers, and many will turn away from me and betray and hate each other, and many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Sin will be rampant everywhere, and the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved, and the good news of the kingdom will be preached throughout the whole world so that all nations will hear it, and then the end will come. The day is coming when you will see what Daniel the prophet spoke about, the sacrilegious object that causes desecration standing in the holy place. Reader, pay attention. Then those in Judea must flee to the hills. A person out on the deck of a roof must not go down into the house to pack. A person out in the field must not return even to get a coat. How terrible it will be for pregnant women and for nursing mothers in those days. And pray that your flight will not be in winter or on the Sabbath. For there will be greater anguish than at any time since the world began, and it will never be so great again. In fact, unless that time of calamity is shortened, not a single person will survive, but it will be shortened for the sake of God's chosen ones. Then, if anyone tells you, "Look, here is the Messiah," or "There he is," don't believe it. For false messiahs and false prophets will rise up and perform great signs and wonders so as to deceive, if possible, even God's chosen ones. See, I have warned you about this ahead of time, so if someone tells you, "Look, the Messiah is out in the desert," don't bother to go and look. Or, "Look, he is hiding here," don't believe it. For as the lightning flashes in the east and shines to the west, so it will be when the Son of Man comes. Just as the gathering of vultures shows there is a carcass nearby, so these signs indicate that the end is near. Immediately after the anguish of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will give no light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers in the heavens will be shaken. And then at last the sign that the Son of Man is coming will appear in the heavens. There will be deep mourning among all the peoples of the earth, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send out his angels with the mighty blast of a trumpet, and they will gather his chosen ones from all over the world, from the farthest ends of the earth and heaven. Now learn a lesson from the fig tree. When its branches bud and its leaves begin to sprout, you know that summer is near. In the same way, when you see all these things, you can know his return is very near, right at the door. I tell you the truth, this generation will not pass from the scene until all these things take place. Heaven and earth will disappear, but my words will never disappear. However, no one knows the day or hour when these things will happen, not even the angels in heaven or the Son himself. Only the Father knows. In that passage, Jesus gave 4 distinct signs of his coming. What exactly are these 4 signs? The first is clearly disasters in the world, wars, famines, and earthquakes. These have been happening for over 1,000 years, but they are getting more intense. Jesus says, "Don't be deceived." He repeats this warning throughout his message. As we approach the end, the greatest danger is deception, both inside and outside the church. Many will come as false Christs, false saviors. As problems increase, so will the number of false deliverers. However, as Jesus advises, do not be alarmed. These are not pangs of death, but birth pains. Disasters signal something new is about to be born. Instead of despair, we should see them as a sign of renewal. Christians are not to panic, but to remain steadfast. The second sign is changes within the church. Persecution, decline in faith, and the gospel reaching all nations. The third is Jerusalem's distress, marked by the abomination of desolation. The fourth is celestial disturbances, the sun, moon, and stars darkened, immediately preceding Christ's return. When we see these signs, we know his return is near. Until then, we watch, pray, and stay ready. Messiahs are people who take advantage of the turmoil of natural disasters to present themselves as saviors. There are well-known examples of individuals who pretend to be saviors, leading people into desert locations only for it to end in tragedy. However, there are many false Christs, false saviors who claim to be the promised deliverer from all our troubles. The more problems there are, the more false deliverers will arise. But as Jesus advises us, do not be alarmed, do not be worried. When you hear of a new war, a new tragedy, or a new famine breaking out, he said something astonishing. These are painful events, but they are not pangs of death. They are birth pains. So when you read about disasters in the media, understand that these pains signify something new is about to be born. This realization should completely change our attitude. We know what the world is coming to, so we should not be alarmed or dismayed. We should not be as worried as the world about these things. Disasters in the world are the birth pains of a new world yet to be born. Therefore, we are different. We sympathize with those who suffer through disasters, and hopefully we express it and help. But in our hearts, we are not alarmed. We are hopeful. We are looking for the birth of a new world, and therefore we are not dismayed or depressed by all the problems in the world. In short, Jesus' advice to us is not to panic, not to be disturbed, but even to rejoice, saying, "These are all signs of something new happening." The second sign of his coming is not in the world, but in the church. Disasters in the world are the first sign. The second sign is changes in the church. Just as he divided the first sign into three parts, wars, earthquakes, and famines, he divides the second sign into three parts, all of which occur within the church. The first is persecution. We will be hated in every nation. The second aspect of this sign would be a significant reduction in the size of the church. Most people's love will grow cold. When the whole church is under strain, many nominal Christians, if not all true Christians, will leave under the burdens of universal persecution. Their love will grow cold. That is a very depressing sign. The big surprise in the third part of the sign is that the gospel will be preached to every racial group. The gospel will be proclaimed, and a smaller, purified church will have a greater impact on the world. That is exactly what Jesus is implying. False prophets can be a source of deceit in all of this. We are aware of the teachings of false prophets. When there is no peace, they teach peace. Rather than being a source of challenge, their message is one of comfort. It's all right. It won't happen, they say. Jesus' advice is to keep going. Do not give in to these false prophets. Whoever perseveres to the end will be saved. When that sign occurs, when all aspects of the church are despised by the world, that is Jesus' advice to all Christians. Why should that be the case? The answer is that wheat and tares grow together, and the closer they get to full maturity, the more tension there will be between them. So it is only natural that Christians will be under a lot of pressure. In the end, Christians are social misfits, so there will be hatred. The world does not belong to us. Our citizenship is in the heavenly realms. We are unique, and it is because of our uniqueness that hate can arise. Since Jesus was so different from everyone else, he drew hatred upon himself. John 15:19 says, "If you were of the world, it would love you as its own. Instead, the world hates you because you are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world." It is not fun to be despised. That takes us to the third sign of the end times, which is Jerusalem's distress. Geographically, it will be very limited. In this passage, Jesus quotes Daniel's prophecies. There is a character in Daniel's prophecies referred to as the abomination of desolation. Daniel mentions it 3 times. What does it all mean? What is the big deal? It refers to a human being, a man who establishes himself in the very city of God, calls himself God, and refuses to accept anyone else's will above his own. A tyrant whose arrival will have global ramifications, but who will be centered in Jerusalem, the city of God, the holy place. Then, Jesus says that the fourth sign of his coming will come immediately after that. So we shall know when he is coming, we shall be ready. When that sign comes, there will be no danger of false prophets or false messiahs. There will be no deception. It will be too quick. What will happen is that all natural light will be switched off. The sun will go dark. The stars will fall. There are many predictions of this throughout the Bible. Isaiah says, "The heavens will be rolled up like a carpet. All the stars of heaven will be dissolved. The skies will be rolled up like a scroll, and all their stars will fall like withered leaves from the vine, like foliage from the fig tree. Natural light will be gone, leaving only artificial light to illuminate the earth." People may ask, what is happening? What is going on? Christians will exclaim, this is it. The sun, stars, and moon will stop shining. Right before that happens, God will turn off the lights of heaven to prepare for the blaze of light from the lightning that will mark his return. Then he comes on the clouds, back to planet Earth, and we meet him. We are not meeting in an earthly stadium, because there isn't one large enough to accommodate such a large crowd. We will reach him in the air, and that will suffice. Isn't that a fantastic prospect? When you see all these things, you know he is at the gates, just about to walk through. Then Jesus gives a very simple statement about a fig tree, and this is where many Christians have gone astray. He says, "Now, learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near." Jesus is telling us that when you notice all these events happening, you know that we are there. Now, that analogy of the fig tree is not an allegory. It is a straightforward analogy from everyday experiences, just as Jesus often presented in his teaching. You see the fig tree doing this, you say, "Summer is coming," and it will come in the same style. When you notice these 4 signs, you know that summer is coming. Sadly, people have read it as an allegory. In closing, our question for the day: what is a worship song that has helped you feel closer to God? The Bible is unlike any other history book. It begins with the creation of the world and ends with its ultimate destiny. No human could have documented the beginning of time, and no other book reveals the end of the world with such accuracy. The prophecies in the Bible aren't given to satisfy curiosity, but to prepare believers for what's to come. We have been in the last days since Pentecost, and every Christian generation is called to be ready for the Lord's return. The Bible contains 735 predictions, with 81% already fulfilled. That leaves about 20 key prophecies still to come, mostly regarding the return of Jesus Christ. Jesus instructed his followers to watch for the signs, not to panic, but to stay alert. He spoke of wars, famines, earthquakes, and deception by false saviors. Yet, he reassured us that these are not death pains, but birth pains, signaling the arrival of something new. In today's world, we see these signs unfolding. Now more than ever, we must remain steadfast in faith, spreading the gospel and preparing spiritually. If you want to dive deeper into these revelations, follow and subscribe to The Chosen One on YouTube for more powerful insights. Stay watchful, stay faithful,